Historians uncovered shocking truths about Jesus that Islam got wrong. Few knew what truly happened that night in the quiet town of Nazareth, where whispers of miracles danced in the air. Shadows loomed in the alleys as the sun dipped below the rooftops, casting an eerie glow on the cobblestones. It was a night of foreboding, filled with uncertainty. When the fabric of belief was about to be stretched to its limits, all eyes turned toward a humble carpenter, a man born to a virgin, whose life sparked debates across generations. Jesus of Nazareth stood at the center of a storm. His deeds, miraculous and puzzling, left many in awe, yet others were bewildered. The dead were said to walk again, and the blind claimed to see not just the world, but a new truth. But what if I told you that the details of his story were shrouded in confusion? In his own time, figures debated fiercely. Authorities claimed he was a rebel, a disruptor of peace, while others whispered that he was the Messiah. In the taverns, men clutched their mugs tighter, hearts racing at the mention of his name. What lies beneath those ancient words? Was it truly divine intervention, or something more mysterious? As the moon hung low in the sky, the air crackled with tension. Could he really perform wonders, or were they mere tricks of light and illusion? Outside a small inn, curious onlookers gathered, their breaths mingling with the cool night air. Some spoke in fear, others in reverence. The town was split in two, devotees and dissenters. Suddenly, a cry pierced the night. A woman had collapsed, writhing in pain. With trembling hands, a group rushed to her side, panic igniting in their chests. Jesus approached, his cloak billowing gently behind him, radiating an odd blend of calm and urgency. All gasped. Was this his moment to show the world who he truly was? Would he lift her from despair? The crowd held its breath. Was this man truly the Son of God? Or just a man filled with charisma and chance? The lanterns flickered as people leaned in closer, fear mixed with hope. He knelt beside her, eyes locked in determination. What miracle was about to be unveiled, or was it all an illusion that would shatter their beliefs? Just then, a child cried out, breaking the palpable silence. "Can you save her?" The tension morphed into a collective gasp. Every heart pounded wildly. The question hung heavy in the air. One moment shifted everything: faith, doubt, destiny. It carried the weight of 1,000,000 lives, poised on the edge of a knife, but before the truth could unfold, a figure emerged from the shadows, casting doubt on everything they believed. Who was this interloper? What story would he tell? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the stranger stepped into the flickering light of the lanterns, the crowd stirred with whispered speculation. Cloaked in shadows, he bore the demeanor of authority, his voice rich and resonant as he called into the throng, "What madness is this? A man claiming divinity? Do you not see the folly of your trust?" Eyes darted toward Jesus, whose expression remained serene, yet a spark ignited in his gaze, quiet resolve clashing with the rising tempest of doubt. The onlookers, confused by the confrontation, cycled through disbelief, fear, and curiosity. Who was this man challenging the very essence of faith, and what did he seek to gain? The murmurs grew louder as the woman on the ground groaned, her agony blending with the collective anxiety of the crowd. Jesus rose, taking a steady breath filled with purpose. "What do you fear, wanderer? Do you not believe that hope can heal?" he asked, addressing the stranger with gentle authority. The figure scoffed, "And what of those who have suffered and were not spared? Were they not equally deserving of your miracles? Or do you reserve your pity for those willing to bow before you?" His words slithered through the air, stoking the embers of skepticism already burning in some hearts. Yet, a few in the gathered assembly recalled whispers of his miracles, how he had turned water into wine, healed the sick, and even offered solace to the lost. But in a town so familiar with despair, doubt wrapped around hope like vine chokes a tree. In that moment, they were torn. A rare opportunity for belief lingered, but so did the shadow of cynicism. The child who had cried out earlier stepped forward, his small stature dwarfed by the intensity of adult emotion surrounding him. With innocent courage, he faced the stranger and demanded, "Why do you want to take away our hope? It was hope that brought us here tonight. Can't miracles come from love?" The gaze of the stranger softened for a fleeting moment, and there was a flicker of recognition. Perhaps he, too, had once known hope or had dared to dream of it. But then, garbed in a cloak woven of skepticism, he replied, "Hope is a fragile thread, young boy. It can unravel under the weight of despair. Are you prepared for that truth?" As the boy cast his eyes downward, Jesus felt a flicker of urgency. He knelt back beside the suffering woman, reaching for her hand. The softness of his touch mingled with a palpable electricity that resonated in the hearts surrounding them. He whispered words of comfort, not only to her but to all who listened. "Take courage, for love is here. I am not a rebel, I am the fulcrum of hope. We will stand against despair, together." Yet even as he spoke, the uncertainty of the moment clawed at the edges of the air. Would they accept this truth, or would the shadows of doubt envelop them? As whispers of the stranger's words mingled with the tender urgency of Jesus' plea, the night stretched onward, unresolved. What will it take for the weary to believe in the unseen, to embrace miracles woven through love despite the shadows of doubt that linger endlessly? And if such faith falters, what becomes of hope in a world so steeped in fear? As the crowd held its breath, time seemed to bend beneath the weight of uncertainty. The murmurs echoed in the stillness, a chorus of doubts and fears converging, and in that moment, the air grew thick with unspoken questions. Jesus, ever attuned to the pulse of their hearts, sensed their struggle between believe and disbelieve. He turned his focus back to the woman, her breath shallow and her spirit flickering like the dying lanterns that surrounded them. "Your pain does not define you," he spoke softly, intertwining his fingers with hers, "but rather the hope you dare to embrace." There was a lilt in his voice, cradled by Phytha sound that echoed across the ages, calling to each person standing in that circle of light. Among those who listened was a man named Levi, his brow furrowed in thought. Having lived a life of stringent adherence to the laws, he had come to eye the world through a prism of rules and judgments. Yet here stood something ungraspable: Jesus, offering a vision of acceptance and love that brushed against the edges of his rigid beliefs. Torn between notions of divine justice and an invitation to mercy, Levi wrestled with the dissonance that churned within him. "Do you claim that love can shatter the foundations of law?" Levi shouted into the suffocating silence. "What of judgment? Is there not a price to be paid for sin?" The stranger observed silently, his expression inscrutable, as the weight of Levi's words hung upon the gathering. There was a flicker of ire in Jesus' eyes, but it was tempered by compassion. "The law was crafted to guide, but love is the force that redeems," he answered, standing tall like a lighthouse amidst turbulent waves. "It is the heart that calls for mercy when the scale of judgment leans heavy." As these words flowed from his lips, a ripple passed through the crowd as their hearts began to ponder the impossible. Could it be true? Could love outshine the darkness of their fears? Just as the first light of dawn melts away the shadows of night, atop the hill, a collective spark of possibility ignited. Yet, in the many corners of the throng, questions loomed larger than ever. Old certainties stood in confrontation with newfound revelations. Beneath this veil of uncertainty, Sarah, a widow who recently lost her husband, felt her heart pulse with each utterance. The despair that had cocooned her was now punctured by hope, but she could not silence the nagging voice that whispered of the fleeting nature of such possibilities. How many times had she wished for miracles when the twilight of grief enveloped her so completely? What if love is insufficient? Sarah's voice trembled, catching the attention of those near her. What if we reach out and find only emptiness in return? Her question, raw and earnest, reflected a yearning deep within the assembly, a desire for unfailing assurance amid their vulnerabilities. In the silence that followed, the stranger turned his gaze toward her, and for the briefest moment, the tension between doubt and faith hung in the air like a sword suspended over their heads. Jesus, sensing the gravity of her question, stepped forward, embracing the uncertainty with a resolute heart. True courage lies in the choice to believe, even when the answer eludes us. Love is not merely the absence of fear, it is the embrace of hope that persists in spite of it. The night deepened, and the gathered crowd stood between the glaring truth of their pain and the invisible thread of hope. With their hearts now open, the woman felt a flicker of warmth seep into her frail body as if a flicker of divine breath filled her. But the doubt remained, curling like tendrils of smoke, refusing to dissipate entirely. Could they live in the space of unanswered questions, or would despair reclaim its hold? As the lanterns flickered, casting dancing shadows around them, the essence of their struggle surfaced. What lies beyond the veil of understanding, and can a single act of love illuminate the path toward belief, even when darkness seems insurmountable? As the moon climbed higher into the sky, bathing the congregation in a silver glow, hearts remained tethered to the moment. Jesus, standing at the heart of their turmoil, embodied an enigmatic stillness, urging them to look beyond the uncertainties that cuffed their spirits. The woman's breath became more steady, drawing strength from the warmth of his presence, but uncertainty continued to weave itself through the crowd like a whisper carried on the evening breeze. That I do not wish to be defined by others, she spoke, her voice trembling but resolute as hope flared in her chest. Yet, how can I forget my years of suffering? Are my wounds not a testament to the wrongs of this world? Her eyes, glazed with the reflections of grief and yearning, scanned the faces that encircled her, searching for a shared understanding that suffering is a part of existence. Jesus replied, his eyes inviting, gentle yet weighed with profound understanding. It is a seed, planted in the soil of our lives. But remember, it is not solely the wounds that shape our narrative. It is our response to them that redefines us. A hush hung over the crowd as they considered this idea. Levi felt the stirring of resolve within him, as if his heart, long parched from rigid adherence, was beginning to flower. And what of the suffering inflicted by our own hands? He countered, the tension in his voice a reflection of his inner conflict. Is not judgment necessary to illuminate our path back to righteousness? To guide us in turning from darkness, judgment has its place. Indeed, it can shine a light, but it can also blind. Jesus responded, a tinge of urgency creeping into his tone. You see, the heart that knows love chooses compassion. It desires not to blame but to understand, not to condemn but to uplift. What if your perceived authority was merely a veil, hiding the truth that we are all bound by our humanity? At this, murmurs of contemplation surged through the assembly. Sarah felt the weight of his words settle on her soul, a gentle caress that seemed to dispel the shroud of despair. But can love truly mend the fracture of our hurt? She dared to question, her voice a soft echo amidst the tension. Can it bridge the chasm between expectation and reality? Love is the bridge, Jesus assured her, a serene smile illuminating his face as he spoke. It is an act of daring to extend one's heart to another, even amid uncertainty. It allows us to touch the divine connection interwoven through all our lives, to transform scars into stories of resilience. Yet, an unseen current filled the air, reminding them of their burdens. Could they indeed turn their pain and certainties into avenues of love? Was it possible for each wound to mean something beyond mere suffering, a pathway toward understanding and redemption? These questions sparked debates among the gathering, each voice rising like a flurry of fallen leaves danced by the wind. Suddenly, in the distance, a child's laughter erupted, cutting through the solemnity of their reflection. A small figure darted through the shadows, chasing a firefly that glimmered in the dark. The child's unrestrained joy echoed with the innocence of belief untainted by the scars of life. As they watched in awe, the laughter became a balm to their troubled hearts, offering a glimpse of freedom without fear. Perhaps it is through the eyes of innocence that we find clarity, Levi murmured, realization dawning with each word. In our search for answers, we may have overlooked the simplicity with which love operates. Yes, Sarah echoed, her heart lightening as peals of laughter signaled a new direction. Perhaps in the face of sorrow, we must learn again to be unafraid of joy. As the child danced beneath the canopy of stars, Jesus gestured toward the boy, whose laughter resonated like a promise of hope. Therein lies the truth you seek. Sometimes it is not the answers but the questions that illuminate our path. So I ask you, can the joyful heart lead us toward deeper truths during the darkest times? Will we dare to embrace the joy that love can bring in the midst of our uncertainties? The laughter faded into the night, leaving behind a hushed reverence that wrapped around the adults like a soft cloak. They turned to one another, eyes glimmering with newfound hope and uncertainty, punctuated with hesitance about what joy might mean in light of their burdens. "Hope," Jesus said, his voice a gentle whisper weaving through the tangled emotions of the gathering. "It is an ember, undying and fierce, waiting for the breath of love to ignite it into flame. Do not dismiss joy, for it is a catalyst that fuels courage to face your wounds." Levi placed a hand over his heart as if to grasp the words to anchor himself. "Yet, Jesus, we have grown so accustomed to our pain. Can we truly step away from what we've always known into the vast unknown of trust and joy?" The question hung heavy like a thick mist, uncertain of what to reveal. "Look to the child," Jesus replied, nodding towards the little figure now twirling in the soft silver light of the moon. "His laughter speaks of a grace designed by the Creator, one that beckons you to reclaim the beauty of your spirit. Each moment spent in laughter offers a glimpse of heaven, a truth so vibrant that it casts a shadow upon despair. But the world weighs heavily on us, does it not?" mused Sarah, gesturing to the congregation enveloped in silence. "We stand bound by our pasts and by the failures that have left scars on our souls. What of those wounds that seem unhealable? Every wound speaks a story of love, a journey marked by trials," Jesus said. "It is in facing these trials, this adversarial ground we tread, that you come to know the depth of your true strength. Each scar, each hurt, becomes a testament to resilience. They are not actors in your play of grief, but rather the narrative threads of hope stitched into the fabric of your life." As his words settled, Levi's brows furrowed in contemplation. Yet, if we redefine our wounds as stories of resilience, do we not risk romanticizing our suffering? Shouldn't we remain mindful of the pain instead of dismissing it? Recognizing pain is not the same as being defined by it, Jesus clarified, his gaze unwavering. You may honor your suffering while choosing to transform it, a delicate dance between acknowledgement and transcendence. Let me ask you this: how can you award your trials the dignity of your narrative if they remain shrouded in darkness? It is the light of love that can illuminate every crevice. The crowd stirred, the energy shifting as they absorbed the challenge laid before them. Hope flickered in their hearts, ignited by the possibility of redefining their relationship with suffering. Yet, shadows of doubt loomed, lingering like distant thunderclouds. A sudden gust swept through the trees, rustling leaves in a whirlwind that mirrored the emotions stirred within the assembly. Amidst nature's chaotic dance, a voice from the crowd raised a question that cut through the air: but what does love require of us? If it is the bridge, what must we relinquish to cross it? The journey to love is paved with surrender, Jesus answered, his tone resonating with certainty. You must relinquish the expectations of your pain, and dare to forgive not only one another but also yourself. For love is a powerful force. It asks of you honesty, vulnerability, and the ability to find beauty even when it seems lost. Will you allow love to guide you back to your truest self? As his words unfolded, silence enveloped the group, thick with contemplation. The flicker of the fireflies seemed to echo their internal struggle, a simultaneous search for light amidst the shadows they carried. Gazing skyward, a multitude of stars began to shimmer into view, as if the universe mirrored their layered questions. In that moment, they pressed deeper into the mystery of Jesus' purpose. Could shedding the weight of suffering lead them to a greater understanding of love? Would they dare to embrace the uncertainty that lay ahead, even as they journeyed through dark nights of the soul? The night deepened, and the stars continued to pierce the dark canvas overhead, twinkling with an ancient wisdom that felt almost sentient. The gathering stood still, captured in a moment that felt both transient and eternal, their hearts beating in unison with the pulse of the universe. As Jesus observed the many faces before him, he could sense the shifting tides of understanding, but he also recognized the resistance buried deep within. He sensed the raw material of doubt like a delicate clay, still unshaped, waiting for the potter's hands. "Grief, my beloved friends," he began again, his voice a soft invitation, "is but the hiding place of deep love. It teaches you what to hold closely, yet what can release you. Have you ever wondered what it would mean to love fiercely, without fear?" Simeon, a man of weathered features and deep-seated sorrow, shifted uneasily. "That's all well and good, Jesus, but how can we summon such fierce love when we have so often felt betrayed by those we trusted? Is there a way to cleanse the heart of the bitterness that clings like a vine?" "Ah, the vine you speak of," Jesus mused, looking out at the darkness that enshrouded them. "In its grip, it leaves scars, yet it also speaks volumes of your resilience. To cleanse your heart, you must first acknowledge the vine. Feel it truthfully, then gently trim its hold. Do not uproot it in anger, acknowledge it in love. What blooms within your sorrow may provide the very nourishment for your spirit." A spark of realization danced in the eyes of Mary, who had witnessed love intertwined with her own suffering. Could it be, then, that our bitterness ultimately leads us back to the love we seek? Her voice carried a tremor of hope yet laced with uncertainty. "Exactly so," Jesus replied, his expression kind and affirming. "When you sift through your sorrow and examine it closely, you reveal its essence, a longing that connects you to others, to yourselves, and to the divine. Forgiveness is not an erasure of memory, it transforms the pain into a vehicle of compassion. Can you imagine a world where love flows freely, fueled by the humility of those who understand their own vulnerability?" As if in answer, the wind picked up again, rustling the branches overhead like an echo of their long-silenced truths. The gathered hearts felt the weight of Jesus' words anew, an invitation to weave together vulnerability with courage. "But what if forgiveness feels impossible?" asked Leah, tears glimmering like starlight in her eyes. "What if we end up feeling more lost in the process than we did before?" "Even the wildest storms begin with a single raindrop," Jesus said, his gaze piercing and soothing. "Forgiveness is a journey, not merely a destination. It may appear arduous, but each step brings you closer to love, which is always the intent. In your practice of letting go is the revelation of who you truly are." The atmosphere pulsed with energy, every soul leaning in, their minds wrestling with the mysteries of healing. The flickering flames of the gathered fire grew brighter for a moment, illuminating the faces of those hungering for understanding. In this charged stillness, Jesus continued, "Seek not only to give love but to be receivers of it, allowing it to reshape your grief into a form of gratitude. Then, ask yourselves, what remains when you strip away the layers of bitterness and pride? What identity calls upon you from beyond the heartache?" As questions loomed like clouds pregnant with impending rain, a sense of sacred uncertainty gripped the gathering. They sensed the horizons of their hearts broadening, even as the shadows lingered. Amidst this journey into the transformational power of love, they collectively pondered, would the embrace of love, however imperfect, guide them through the darkness? And could they trust enough to step forward, allowing each step to be a brave release into the unknown? As the glow from the fire danced in the night, the silence that enveloped the group was rich with contemplation. Faces turned towards Jesus, each heart wrestling with seeds of revelation. Under the tapestry of stars, an atmosphere of expectancy hung thick, ready to bloom or break at any moment. Jesus noticed the deepening furrows on the brows of his listeners and understood their struggle, the tug-of-war between hope and despair. "My friends," he said gently, "it is in the struggle itself that the seeds of faith are often sown. Do you not see? The divine does not ask for perfection, rather, it seeks your willingness to journey amidst uncertainty." Jude, usually quick with a quip, found himself pondering the very essence of trust. Yet how do we nurture this faith when the shadows are so profound, when our very steps feel unsure on this winding path? "Ah, Jude," Jesus responded, a slight smile illuminating his face. "Faith is born in the heart that dares to leap without knowing the landing. It is the quiet knowing that beyond the darkness lies an eternal light, waiting to be revealed. The divine does not abandon you in your questions, nor your fears. Instead, it invites you to dance with them. The night deepened further, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The fraying edges of the past intertwined with hopeful threads of the future, and in that moment, the collective grief of the gathering opened like a fragile blossom. Do you remember the moments when you observed the beauty of creation? Jesus continued. The laughter of a child, the gentle breath of a breeze, the stillness after a rain? Each tiny miracle is a reminder of love's persistent pulse in the world. Beauty has a way of shepherding our hearts when they feel most fractured. Miriam's gaze flicked to the heavens, and she quietly asked, "But what if we fail to see the beauty in ourselves, or in our stories?" When the mirror reflects only pain, Jesus responded, his voice steady and warm, "It is in those times you must anchor yourselves in the truth that you are seen, not just by your own limited vision, but by the Creator who loves you immeasurably." Each scar, each line upon your face, speaks not of defeat, but of survival, of lessons learned in battles fought. A deep sigh seemed to resonate with each of them, echoing the unspoken fears of not measuring up or being worthy. Slowly, like the dawn creeping over the horizon, the truth of their shared humanity began to settle in their bones. "Embrace your imperfections, friends," he urged, his eyes softening with compassion. "For within them lies your authenticity, and therein blooms the very essence of love." Ask yourselves, what story do these imperfections tell you? What chapters yet unwritten await their ink? The fire crackled, sending embers spiraling into the night sky, mirroring the way their thoughts began to spiral outward into something expansive. Questions were born, tender and raw, wrapping themselves around the uncertainties of their existence. As they considered this new perspective, an unquiet whisper flitted among them. What if their imperfections, rather than being a barrier, were a bridge leading to deeper connections with others? And what if embracing their shared vulnerabilities could open doors to unimagined unity? In the stillness of that starry evening, each person reflected within their soul, are we willing to embrace our own imperfections as part of the grand narrative of love? Can we trust that the journey through suffering leads not to isolation, but to connection with others seeking the same profound truth? As the fire settled into a gentle glow, a sudden breeze rustled the leaves overhead. Jesus looked around at the faces illuminated by the warmth, each one a tapestry of emotional scars and silent hopes. He sensed the lingering questions burdening their hearts, the ever-present search for clarity amongst the shadows. In a moment charged with expectation, Peter spoke up, his voice tinged with a youthful eagerness. "Lord, if our imperfections connect us, how is it that we are often blind to the beauty in one another? Why do we allow divisions to fester in our hearts?" Jesus nodded, understanding the weight behind the question. "Ah, Peter, it is the human condition to seek comfort in certainty, to find solace in the familiar. Yet, therein lies the paradox, the greatest beauty often emerges from chaos. When you cast your gaze only upon the surface, you miss the depths of each soul's journey. Light and darkness dwell in each heart often, it is a matter of perspective." The other disciples listened intently, weaving their thoughts together with his words. Thomas pondered aloud, "But how do we shift our view? It feels daunting, like tilting a mountain with mere hands." "Start small," Jesus advised, his voice a gentle breeze. "Take time to listen, not just to the words of others, but to the silence between them. In that sacred space, you might hear the echo of a story, a yearning for understanding that often goes unspoken. Empathy is the key that unlocks hearts closed by fear." As the flames flickered, John chimed in, "And if we are to embrace the stories of others, how do we confront the shadows within our own tales that haunt us? The doubts that seem permanent?" Jesus took a moment, his gaze softening with compassion. "Fear not your shadows, for they are not the absence of light, but rather the backdrop against which your light shines brightest. Every person carries a narrative steeped in trial and triumph, and it is through sharing our deepest shadows that authenticity arises. In vulnerability, you shall find the strength of community." Miriam, emboldened by the discussion, ventured to speak once more. "But what if we share those shadows and others do not respond with grace? What if we stand exposed, only to be met with disdain?" Jesus regarded her thoughtfully. "It is indeed a risk, my dear friend. However, remember this, the act of sharing one's truth is not contingent upon another's receptivity. You do it for your own liberation, for the assurance that your heart and story deserve to take up space. The response of others is beyond your control, but your courage to speak can ignite a spark in unexpected ways. The night air thickened with a sense of wonder. Each person reflected on their own fears of vulnerability and the potential beauty locked within their scars. Could sharing their truths cultivate not only understanding but also a garden of compassion? As the fire flickered and shadows danced, they marveled at the idea that their connected journey through hardship might lead to the dismantling of darkness in their world. The question loomed over them like a constellation waiting to be charted: can we truly navigate the landscapes of our wounded hearts to illuminate the path for others lost in their own shadows? The fire pulsed softly, sending out a warm glow that seemed to wrap around the gathering like a comforting blanket. As silence settled, an unspoken bond grew among the disciples, a collective yearning to peel back the layers of their own existence. Each flickering ember framed a new perspective, urging them to confront their inner worlds with curiosity rather than fear. As if sensing the shift, Jesus spoke again, his voice reverberating with conviction. In silence, hear not only what lies within you but also the murmur of the world around. Nature speaks in whispers, the rustling leaves hold secrets of resilience, and the setting sun teaches us about letting go. Embrace these lessons, for creation yearns to guide you. From the edge of the circle, Bartholomew, usually reserved, found his voice. You speak of connection, Lord, yet we are each shaped by our individual experiences. How do we reconcile our uniqueness with the need to belong? Jesus nodded, acknowledging the complex layers inherent in such a question. Ah, my friend, therein lies the beauty of the tapestry. Each thread is distinct, yet together they weave a magnificent story. Your individuality is not a barrier, but a thread that strengthens the fabric of community. Celebrate your journey while recognizing that every person beside you is on their own path. As the night deepened, a soft breeze stirred, and the tendrils of smoke twisted upwards in cerebral ways. Philip, intrigued yet troubled, posed another inquiry: but does embracing our individuality not risk isolating us further? How do we prevent our personal tales from becoming an echo of self-absorption? With a serene smile, Jesus responded, the heart, when truly open, does not merely invite understanding but actively seeks it. In sharing your story, you must weave an invitation, a call to others to join you, not as distant observers but as fellow travelers. Your individual journey can serve as a bridge rather than a wall, as long as you remember to honor the multitude of stories waiting to be shared around you. In this moment, Thomas found the courage to share his concern, but what of those who still choose the path of division? How can we persuade those caught in the grip of resentment and judgment to embrace the light? Ah, Thomas, Jesus replied, his tone gentle yet firm, it is not your charge to convince those who refuse to see. Instead, let your life be a testament to the love that dwells within you. The way you respond to hate, the grace with which you embrace others, speaks volumes. Oftentimes, the greatest teachings arise from the most profound silence. This contemplation cast a spell of introspection over the group, hearts ablaze with a newfound understanding. As they looked around, mindful of each shared story, a gentle invitation resonated in the space between them. How often had they missed opportunities to connect, held back by their own fears? Then, Mary Magdalene, who had been quietly absorbing every word, asked, Lord, what if our stories are too burdened with pain? Is there a point when sorrow weighs us down too much for connection? Jesus' eyes sparkled with understanding, revealing ancient wisdom. Pain, my dear, is indeed heavy, yet it becomes a profound teacher when acknowledged with honesty. You are not alone in your burdens, each person carries their own weight. By giving voice to your sorrow, you not only free yourself but also grant others permission to do the same. In vulnerability lies the power to liberate not just your spirit, but the spirits of those who walk beside you. As the conversation flowed, the night deepened, punctuated by the soft glow of the fire, each individual absorbing the potent wisdom being shared. A sense of hope flickered like the embers, the prospect of transformation swirling around them like the smoke of the fire itself, and as they pondered their next steps, a delicate question arose in the stillness of the night: is it possible that the act of revealing our deepest wounds may, in turn, ignite the healing journey of others? As the conversation swirled in a gentle dance between shadows and light, the townsfolk remained transfixed by the presence of Jesus at the center of their uncertainty. The weight of his words hung in the air, inviting each heart to take a leap into the unknown depths of faith. "Tonight, my friends," Jesus began, a serene smile spreading across his face, "you stand on the precipice of transformation. In your vulnerability lies the very essence of what you seek, the connection that will outweigh the chains of your past." Each face in the crowd reflected a mix of anticipation and anxiety as they soaked in the gravity of his message. But just as the warmth of hope began to solidify in their hearts, the air shifted, a sudden gust swept through the gathering, carrying the bitterness of doubt. The cloaked stranger, still lingering at the edge, could not resist taking another step into the light, holding tightly to the skepticism that fueled his presence. "What you speak of is mere folly," he declared, his tone sharp but hollow, cutting through the fragile threads of warmth around them. "Can you not see? Your wounds are scars of the world's failures. No amount of love can wash away the stains of reality. How do you expect to mend what has been irrevocably broken?" Jesus turned with measured grace, his expression unwavering. "It is precisely in the brokenness that true beauty emerges," he replied, his voice calm yet powerful. "You see, every wound carries a lesson, and the act of mending is not without its own struggles. To embrace our hurt is to empower it to lead us to deeper truths." His words, steeped in compassion, resonated through the crowd. Levi, still grappling with the conflict nestled within his heart, stepped forward. "But what if we fail?" he implored. "In our quest for love and forgiveness, what if we land in a pit of despair instead?" "Ah, dear Levi," Jesus softened, "to love fearlessly is to embrace the possibility of pain. But know this, every attempt to love brings you closer to the essence of your being. The essence that thrives amidst the darkness. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the heart willing to dance with it, a leap toward the light. Will you trust your journey?" In the lingering silence, Sarah's heart fluttered with a budding realization. "Perhaps we have clung to our pain as a shield against vulnerability," she mused aloud, her voice trembling yet resolute. "What if relinquishing the burden of our stories opens a doorway to authentic connection and healing?" "Precisely," Jesus exclaimed, his eyes alight as he surveyed the gathering. "Your wounds do not bind you, they unlock the threads of mutual understanding. Embrace the narrative you have created, invite others into this tender space of your vulnerability. Together, you illuminate the path to healing." At this moment, the woman who lay crumpled in the streets, once veiled beneath despair, drew a deep breath. The warmth of collective hope surged through her, igniting a flicker of vitality long thought extinguished. Slowly, she opened her eyes to see the faces around her, each a reflection of their trials, interwoven with strands of hope. A profound stillness fell upon the assembly as the air thickened with reverence. Jesus knelt closer to the woman, tenderness spilling from his words as he whispered, "Your story needs not to be one of sorrow but a testament of strength. You are not alone, let the hands of your community lift you into the light." As though bound by an unseen force, the crowd mirrored the woman's rising spirit. One by one, they took steps closer, hands intertwining in solidarity as they formed a circle around her, the embodiment of support and healing. The cloaked stranger shifted, uncertainty playing across his features. For a brief moment, he was torn between skepticism and something deeper, the flicker of recognition in the midst of the night, as the warmth of unity began to seep through the barriers he had built. With each heartbeat, the gathered souls became witnesses to an extraordinary miracle. The woman stood, not merely rising from the ground but emerging from the clutches of despair, transformed by love and light. The frightened flicker of hope blossomed into a radiant flame that danced between their hearts, promising resilience and rebirth. "You see, my friends," Jesus spoke again, his voice echoing with conviction, "when you embrace your wounds, each act of love sends ripples across the fabric of existence. Inside the chrysalis lies the beauty of transformation. The ordinary emerges as extraordinary, each soul ignited with purpose." A collective sigh of relief surged through the crowd, and the stranger, caught in the swell of emotion, felt the fortress of his doubt waver under the weight of possibility. "Is it truly so?" he asked softly, vulnerability seeping into his tone. Can love truly be the answer to our deepest fears? The woman, now standing tall, locked eyes with him and replied, love is not the absence of fear but the courage to face it. Surrendering to love means accepting life's paradoxes, knowing that vulnerability can lead to fragility, yet also to strength. Join us, and together we will navigate these uncharted waters. As the stranger's resolve began to falter, a wave of acceptance washed over the assembly. In that moment, the power of love carved paths within their hearts, unearthing threads they never realized were there. The night, so thick with uncertainty, now radiated with promise. Walk with us, Jesus urged, an invitation woven through his words. Let us step into the unknown with open hearts. For within that embrace lies the beauty of falling together, learning to rise, and discovering our shared humanity. As tears mingled with laughter and the night thickened, they solidified their bond, a tapestry rich with narratives of love and healing, each story igniting the next. In that sacred circle beneath the celestial canopy, they understood the truth: it is in the embrace of one another's pain that they would find salvation and the courage to dream anew. Together, they had grasped a profound revelation, one that reverberated beyond the night, transcending time and space, poised to echo eternally. And thus, in the humble town of Nazareth, amidst doubt and faith, a powerful transformation was born, love binding the weary souls, crafting stories of resilience and hope, illuminating paths previously shrouded in darkness, enchanting hearts long parched for trust. Go forth, my friends, Jesus breathed, as the world stood before them, filled with possibilities yet unseen. Embrace the journey, for the great tapestry of love is ever woven, and your threads dance vibrantly in the weave of existence. With this sacred closing, they stepped out into the night, a community bound by love, determined to shine light into the shadows, crafting miracles in the world beyond. Thus, a journey of faith and transformation continued, ever unfolding in ways profound and magical, as they learned to live in grace, vulnerability, and love.